You are tuning into the Unprofessional Marketing Series. This is a series of 8 conversations where I am interviewing experts in their fields to talk about marketing strategies that the gurus don't teach you. So tune in and listen to these experts as they share advice on how you can market your business unprofessionally. I just know that this interview is going to make you laugh, but you're also going to walk away with some really actionable advice and a clear idea if Substack is right for you. Because I don't know about you, but Substack is all over threads with people wanting to start it. Should I start it? Is it worth it? What's the point? What is it? And so this episode, Sara is going to walk you through exactly what Substack is, how to use it, how she's been using it for over 3 years, and some funny commentary on the side. Okay, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
I would love to. Hi, friends. I'm Sara. I'm a website copywriter, marketing mentor, unapologetic squirrel, and I will be swearing. So if you have little kids near you, tell them to fuck off. No, I'm just kidding. Put headphones on or put headphones on them. And that's that. Happy to be here. Yeah, you could.
Okay, so today we're going to talk all about Substack because I feel like it's pretty controversial on Threads, at least. I don't know about the rest of the internet, but like on
Threads, I don't do the rest of the internet. I do Threads. Exactly. And also Substack.
Threads, I can handle. Everything else, not so much. But can you tell the people how you got started on Substack?
Threads?
Yeah. I was like, what are we talking about?
Like, I started on Threads a couple of years ago and it came out. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I would love to actually, because this is my claim to fame. Like, nothing makes me happier than saying I've been on Substack for 3.5 years. So I got started on Substack 3.5 years ago because I send a weekly newsletter every single week. It's called the Tuesday Table of Contents. I just sent the 221st edition of that. I've never missed a week. And around TOC number 76, 77, I was like, shit, what have I been talking about in these? Like, I have to send this for the rest of my life. I should probably figure out what stories I've already told. And I did have a tracker of the newsletters. Like, I have my own tracker in Airtable, but how annoying is that, right? To go on and like look into like, have I talked about this particular first date before? Like, what should I be saying here? So I conveniently had this. You didn't know you were getting this story. I conveniently had a summer intern for the first time ever. This was like, I think summer 2022. She worked for me and I was like, your first task is going and putting every single newsletter I've sent, so this is about 77 of them so far, on Substack. And then moving forward, we're going to put every newsletter that comes out on Substack for a couple of reasons. Number one, mainly so my squirrel ass ADHD brain can search on Substack like key terms and see if I've posted about said thing before. Because yeah, you know, I've talked about like homepage headlines a couple times, but one thing about me, I'm never going to repeat a story. I'm going to tell you a new story every single week. So I wanted a place for myself to be able to see that. And then I also wanted to be able to link back to past newsletters. So for example, I once wrote a newsletter about how like fuck ass boys on dating apps always have, you know, their picture with the fish and it's like, be so for real. So the story, I'll give her the link so she can link that for you because guess what? It's on Substack. So you can go read that. But that was my most popular newsletter of, I think, either 2022 or 2021, one of those years back in the day, because it was so true. A lot of people, unfortunately, could relate to this scenario of seeing these boys on dating apps who are actually just want to date boys. Like, and if that's your thing, if you're a boy who likes boys, perfect. Like, I hope you're attracting boys. But if you're a boy who likes girls, don't make your profile attracting boys. I don't give a fuck about your beer or your soccer or your fish or your Navy sheets that you probably have. So I had told this story about that. The people loved it. Okay. Then I told another story. Okay. That was TOC number 90, TOC number 103. I told a story of how I was going on this first date with this boy who I didn't know was a fish boy, right? He was undercover. He didn't disclose this on his Hinge profile, but then I found his Instagram, which was actually a fishstagram. And I literally am being dead ass serious when I tell, just go look at it. It's honestly, it's at Cape Cod Fly. I don't give a fuck at this point. Go stalk his Instagram. He has a girlfriend. This was years ago anyway. Literally his name is Cam. Like, just go stalk him. I literally use a screenshot of his Instagram in a newsletter storytelling workshop that I teach. So this, you know, it's public. He knows at this point that he is like a pillar of my content. So I posted about him. Naturally, I had to link back to the previous newsletter. So I needed a way to do that. And before you ask, no, I'm not just going to use my blog. Sara, why couldn't you put your Substack on your blog? This is Felly's podcast. Do you think she's going to talk? No. She's not going to speak. Okay. I'm going to answer the next question. I don't even know what she's going to ask me, but I know you guys are wondering. I know you're wondering, why don't you just use your blog? Girl, because number one, I'm not going to put my dating stories on the blog. Number two, I repurpose my newsletters as blogs. So if I were to put all my newsletters, I would have repeat content on my blog and Google would excommunicate me if I did that. And also, sometimes I'm saying the most in a newsletter when in reality, it could be 2 blog posts or maybe 3 newsletters came from 1 blog post. So I'm not going to be, for those 2 reasons, newsletter, blog, not happening. Newsletter, Substack, happening. Are we good? Are we good?
All right, that 5-minute dialogue.
Literally.
But seriously,
5 minutes.
does Cape Cod Cam know that he's all over the internet because of you?
Yeah, he does know. So, okay, we can run it back real quick to TOC number 103. So, a newsletter tip that I have, this is a bonus for you guys. A newsletter tip that I have is even if you have something planned in your content calendar, if you're not excited about that idea, it's going to suck, right? Like it's going to be lame and boring and nobody wants to read about that. They want to read about what you were excited about. So, whatever I had planned for that Tuesday morning's newsletter, I was not excited about because I was excited about going on a date with Fish Boy, right? I was looking forward to that. And it was like all I could think about the day before when I was writing this newsletter. So I decided I'm just going to write it about that. And you know what? Cape Cod Fly, he was subscribed to my newsletter because that was in my era of sending boys like my Substack archive. When they asked what I did for work, I'd be like, this is what I do. Like I would be like, I talk shit about fish boys for a living. And then I would send them the newsletter and they would love it. They thought it was hilarious. And they were like, oh my God, that's so funny. And I had them like, honey, that's you that I'm talking about. But okay. So he was subscribed to my list. And I was like, how iconic if I send a newsletter about our first date on the day of our first date, he's going to get it in his inbox. Like that's iconic to me. So I did that. So he read the newsletter. He was fully aware. In the newsletter, I talk about how the man that I not dated, the person that I went on one singular date with before him really icked me with his shoes. And I was like so nervous that I was going to, I don't know, it was my thing for a while. I was really nervous that people were going to ick me with their shoes. So on one of the dates that I went on with this man, he showed me, like we went to his house and he showed me all of his shoes. And he was like, I will literally get rid of the ones that ick you. And none of them icked me. But anyways, so he was subscribed. He fully knew about that. He was a pillar of my content for a while. I never ended up dating this man for real. But I wrote another newsletter a while later because, you know, we stopped talking, but he's still subscribed. So like I have Flowdesk, girl. I can see if you open that. I can see what you click on. I can see if you open. So I would look every newsletter to see if he read it. And then one time around the Eras tour at a time, I went to the first weekend of that. So this was forever ago. I had the subject line, I bet you think about me, comma, first name. So like, I bet you think about me, Cam. So he would see it. And then, yeah, that was my final newsletter about him, but he does know. She's looking at me like, girl, what's up? She's like, what kind of insane person did I invite my podcast today?
No, my first thought was, how do you keep track of all these stories? And I know you keep track of which ones you've told in Substack,
yeah.
But I'm also like, how do you keep track of all these stories in your brain?
It's my life. Like, I didn't forget what happened to me in my life.
I agree, but also they're not like categorized as neatly as yours are.
True. Well, also, that is a good question because I write about my stories every week. So I remember the ones that, you know, get traction, that get engagement. And I also teach email marketing, specifically newsletter strategy and storytelling. So I use examples of my old newsletters all the time in these things. So I think it makes it easier for me to be like, yeah, in TOC number 90, like, cause I reference it often. Like I reference stories about, you know, this time that I was accidentally served an 8-ounce glass of vodka and felt guilty and had to drink it. It was disgusting. Like I talk about how my dentist told me I was his worst client, like stories like that. Yeah. So I reference them often. I think that's what keeps the memory alive. But, you know, Fish Boy was also a traumatizing experience for me in my actual real life that my newsletter doesn't know about. So that one was hard to forget.
Casual. All right. So we touched on blogging versus Substack and how you don't want to cannibalize your own site. I think it's cannibalize. I literally just asked the internet about cannibalization today because I don't get it. But I'm curious, why do you newsletter and Substack? Because
newsletter and Substack are not the same thing. So here's the breakdown everybody really needs. And this is what I want the girlies to pay attention to. Fun fact, I started my podcast, like the reason my podcast exists is so I could have a podcast episode about Substack so people would stop asking me about Substack, which I'm happy to tell your audience about it because clearly the girlies need to know. So this is the thing. If you guys remember Medium, Substack is literally just that. Like that is what it is. You are posting articles on a third party platform because you are hoping people will read them. Substack is for writers at its core. Okay. It's not for the business girlies and the influencers that like just found it. Initially, Substack was for writers. Of course, everyone's welcome on Substack. Go ahead, create your Substack profile. But you're not going to get the same benefit that you will from your blog or your newsletter. So Substack is a writing platform that you have the capability to write articles and then send them via email. A newsletter with an email service provider as your platform, like Kit, like MailChimp, like Flowdesk, you have access to way more segmentation, automation, workflows, deep analytics, like literally everything that you would ever need to send a successful email newsletter, and also have email marketing set up, because email marketing is more than just a weekly newsletter or a regular newsletter. Substack is, I posted an article and now I'm going to send it via email to my subscribers. Like that is the only capability that you're getting. And so that's why Substack is not newsletter. So you can have a Substack newsletter, but that is not you participating in email marketing. They're two separate things. One, you're sending via email. The other is a whole ass email marketing operation that you have with an email service provider. So they're not the same. And also, Substack is not blog, because blog lives on your website. Okay. Google is looking at betweenthelinescopy.com/blog, and it's reading all of my blog content. And it's being like, oh my God, look at Sara educating everybody with her little stories and her little tips. Like, great job, queen. We're going to put that stuff at page number 1 because we want people to see it. Substack articles can rank on Google, but you're not getting the same benefit that you would, and they would have to be like the most niche Substack ever. Like you're not going to look up website copywriting and then find a Substack article about that. Like you're going to find my blog instead, because your domain authority factors into, which I don't want to get too technical on y'all, but a lot of things factor into what helps you rank on Google. You are not going to get found in the place that it matters if you're quote unquote blogging on Substack. Substack is like bloggers, like OG bloggers, like how I was, in 2010 typing in my favorite blogger's actual URL and reading their blogs to like see their outfit. That's the energy that we're having over here on Substack. If I'm blogging about like, I don't know. I did just start typing, but then posting personal things on Substack, because I'm not going to post them on my blog. So it doesn't make sense for my business. So if I posted like Cape Cod recommendations, I would post that on Substack because that's irrelevant to betweenthelinescopy.com, me as a website copywriter. If I'm posting, how to start DIYing your website without feeling overwhelmed, that's going on betweenthelinescopy.com/blog, because guess what else they're going to find? Me, my course, my freebie, my services, my template, my copy audit, all the things that matter. If they just find some random bitch on Substack, they're going to read the article and then go read the next Substack article. So when we blog on our blog, we get the benefit from it. When we quote unquote blog, aka publish an article on Substack, we're just publishing an article to publish an article, and maybe people will see it.
And I'm curious because like I haven't spent a lot of time on Substack. I will like go and read articles that I find somewhere else and then like leave.
Yeah.
But when people are finding you on that platform, do they get segmented within your following, or do they all end up in the same place so they see everything? Like it's not like
On
you're
Substack?
like, okay, yeah.
No, like if somebody sees something from Between the Lines on Substack, they are subscribing to Between the Lines on Substack. There is no like, I have 3 different like segments of my Substack. So I have Tuesday Table of Contents. That's the archive of my newsletter. And I don't send that out to the Substack list, like, because I'm already sending it to my email providers. And people always ask me like, oh my God, you double post your newsletter? Like you go and then manually post it? Like, bitch, it takes less than a minute to copy and paste my newsletter and then put it on Substack. Like it takes nothing out of me to do that. I have seen other people, students of mine, actually make their newsletter archive on Notion, like, because they just want a clean way to be able to link back to the other, archived newsletters or newsletters they've sent previously. But so I have my Tuesday Table of Contents. That's my new, quote unquote newsletter. So the archive that goes on Substack. Then I have my Millionaire Moment, if that's what it's called, on Substack. That is a paid Substack. So for those people, and then the third one is literally just called Sarah's Diary. Like there's one post in it right now. So Millionaire Moment is the paid. The rest of it is free. If you subscribe to Millionaire Moment, then yeah, sure, you're quote unquote segmented into the Millionaire Moment thing, but you're still a subscriber of Between the Lines. It's just that you pay for it. So you get this extra paid content. So technically, I don't even have to do that. Like I don't actually have to have a separate segment called that you subscribe to. It's just you're a paying subscriber of Between the Lines, which gives you access to that segment. I could have chosen to just say paid subscribers get my tea about me talking about how I'm going to make $1 million this year, and free subscribers do not. And then I could have just had one segment and posted everything there, and some posts would be marked paid and those people would get those, and some people would be marked free. For my brain, it makes more sense to have a separate segment. So then I post the paid stuff only on that and the free only, elsewhere. But there's no segmentation happening on Substack other than free versus paid. Like, you can see when someone subscribed, you can see that they subscribed, you can see their name and their email, but that's it.
Okay. And I feel like this transitions nicely into my next question, which is
George.
about your paid subscription millionaire moment.
Me.
How is that going? How are you bringing people to your Substack? Is it from marketing on other platforms, or is it from marketing like your content within Substack itself?
Both, I would say. I have 132 paid subscribers, which is a gross annualized income of $15,666. So it's $10 a month. You can choose to pay yearly, and that saves you $20. So it's $100 for a year. Whereas if you were paying monthly, it'd be $120 for a year. So I have 132 subscribers. I get people to subscribe a couple different ways. So I find that in the beginning, when I was first really posting about it a ton, my goal was to get to 100 paid subscribers. And since then, I've just had other things that I've been promoting, like a free workshop that I'm teaching, my website copy course. Like, I want to be promoting things, but I don't want to be promoting 100 different things every day all the time. So Substack, kind of has to take a back seat when I have things that I actually want to sell, other than like a $10 membership to like read about me being rich. So, or becoming rich, I should say. So I marketed on Threads. I do feel like a lot of people will be interested in like a specific edition, like a specific article that I'm writing. If I'm like, subscribe to Millionaire Moment, they're like, okay, cool, I guess. Like, they can go see some of them. But if I'm like, see how much money I made in 2024, people are like, oh my God, chomping at the bit, salivating. Tell me how much money you made, because everyone wants to know the money transparency. And that's the point. And I wanted a place to chronicle the journey, but I was not out here showing my fucking profit and loss statement to just the nosy girls who aren't going to pay. Like, you got to pay me if you want to find out my tea. That's just it. So I sometimes post about it on Threads. I do include every week's Millionaire Moment in my actual newsletter. I know this is getting quite meta, but like, I will put a link to my Substack in my Flowdesk newsletter that I send to my subscribers there. So sometimes people are interested in the content and find me that way. But how I grow on Substack, I find lately a lot of people that are subscribing to that are finding me on Substack, because I try to post on Substack Notes, which is literally just threads for Substack, or like Twitter for Substack. I just post on that very often, and I try to engage over there. Like, I'll comment on people's stuff. I find that the shit I'm posting on Substack, like, you would never catch me posting on, I don't want to say never, but like, I'm not really posting that stuff on my business account or on Threads. Like, the things that get engagement and that people are attracted to on Substack are different than what they're attracted to on Threads. So, and I think that what I'm posting, like, I'm a different persona on Substack because I want people to subscribe to Millionaire Moment. So I have to talk about, like, I just booked my flight to Paris. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, these are the rich girl habits. Like, recently I posted, like, I saw somebody post on Threads about their rich girl habits. Like, these are mine, that, got a ton of engagement for me on Substack Notes. So, but if I'm posting the normal stuff I'd be posting on Threads, people on Substack Notes wouldn't care. So I'm posting about like marketing 101, right? I'm posting about the type of content that I'm expecting my audience to be interested in. Like, I'm manifesting this audience comes to me, is interested in like how to make money online, or that I'm making money online. So then they'll subscribe to my Substack, my paid Substack. So yeah, I would say 50-50, like, if we average it out. But right now, Substack, people are finding me on there.
That's interesting, because I wasn't sure if it had much searchability within itself. So that's
Yeah, it does.
good to know for those who are curious about using it.
For sure. But I do think you're only going to be successful on Substack if you have a moment, right? Like, I'm talking about this specific journey. So people are like, let me follow along with that. And I don't think Substack is what everyone thinks it is. Like, I don't think it's your next big platform. I think you have to genuinely love writing. Like, the things that I'm reading on Substack feel like a break from the internet. They're not like another social platform. Like me, I do a social media detox every weekend. So Friday afternoon I log off, and then Sunday night I'll log on, check my messages, and then log off again until like Monday afternoon. And I will look at Pinterest and I will look at Substack, because to me that doesn't count. Like, I'm reading articles on there that are like how I got my Spark Pack, or like how to plan a cafe at your home, which, like, quit. I already do that. But like random stuff like that. It's like 3 things I wish I did at 29. Like, I don't know. I'm like reading random shit that's just an article. It's like a magazine almost. So if you're not somebody like that's what's really popping off on Substack. So I don't think it's like this business hack. Like just blog then. Like people will do anything but blog. Just blog then. Like that is what I actually want you to do. I don't think your business is growing on Substack like that.
Right? Because I feel like Substack is more like editorial,
Yeah, it is.
journal,
Yes.
poetic.
Journal vibes for sure.
Yeah. Like the old school blogging,
Yeah,
not
and they
business
really
blogging
care
though.
about curation over there. Like you'll
Mhm.
see people post on Substack and they put like cute pictures on and like a little gallery from Pinterest. And they're like, there's a girl I like on Substack. I don't know what her name is, but her Substack is called Milk and Cookies. And she's just out here like 3 things that sparkle. I actually don't. She never said that, but you know what I mean? Like it's journal vibes. Like she's just blogging for the fuck of it. Like there's a point, obviously readership. And she's like, people are real. She actually has a fuck ton of engagement over there. But she's not like 5 tips for Hannah, whatever. Like that belongs in your blog, girl. But that's what's growing your business is the educational content, which is why I'm over here like, sorry, you can have a Substack as a creative outlet, but it's not the business tool that some people think it is.
Which leads me to the next question, which is where it's very turbulent on threads about Substack. And I'm curious if you think it will last as a platform.
Oh yeah, the Threads girlies just found Substack, so then that's why the turbulence is happening. But Substack has been here, babe. Substack has been here. It'll continue to be here because the one thing about the Threads, I haven't seen as much like Threads tea about it as you have, but I have noticed that some other people will engage because I think. Okay, actually, I have so many opinions that I'm trying to share at once. My little squirrel brain like can't get them all out. My first opinion about it is that's engagement bait. Anytime somebody's posting, ChatGPT wrote it because it has an M dash, engagement bait. We've had this conversation. Stop starting it. Okay. We get it. We know. And the girlies are going to be in the comments running to defend their M dash. But it's good English. That's why Chat. Yeah. Okay. We know. You don't need to say that. Which Threads is for the replies. I'm a commenter through and through. Like if you ever see a TikTok video, scroll past it, look at the comments. I'm there. I've commented. So I get your compulsion to comment, but I think the Substack tea is the same vibe. Like people like, what even is Substack? Should I start? Some people are genuinely asking the question, which I respect. Other people are just there to like get engagement on their threads, I think. But I am thankful to everyone who has linked my Substack up. I mean, well, I have very meta. I have a Substack for my podcast that I will embed the episode, but then there's also a Substack article because I can't listen. Like one thing about me, I'm not listening. Like I will listen, but I will retain nothing. I have to read and listen at the same time. Like if you don't have captions crawling across your video, I'm scrolling. I can't watch that. Like I've taken nothing into my brain. So I have a Substack for my articles. So people will link like somebody else that I don't even know will be like, oh, this girl has an episode about it on her podcast. And I'm like, yes. That is the reason. But one thing the Threads girlies don't know is that the Substack girlies don't know about you. Okay. Substack doesn't know that this conversation is happening about Substack because Substack lives on Substack. Okay. There are way considerably more, millions, I would bet, more people on Substack. I have no idea how many people are on Substack. Let's scale it back. Maybe it's thousands of people on Substack that have no idea that people are flocking to Substack. They're just a girl in their room writing in their diary and posting it on Substack. They have 2 followers. Okay. They don't know this conversation is happening on Threads. So I think, yeah, Substack will last because Substack doesn't even know y'all are talking about Substack.
It's funny because I compare Substack to, like I say, it's the Gen Z version of Medium, which is
It is.
still kicking. Who
Oh,
knows
God.
how? Still kicking. People are all over that.
I didn't know that.
But your argument about like Threads versus Substack just made me think of like the Toronto versus Vancouver argument of people in Vancouver are always like, we're better, like we're against, like we're in competition, and people in Toronto are like, Vancouver's
Like,
not on the
oh,
map.
yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of, I feel like that concept can be applied to so many different things. Like there's a lot of people that think there's a brawl happening and it's one-sided. Like
Yeah.
that. Bye. Funny. Everyone thinks I'm from Toronto, actually. I've never been there in my life.
No, I don't think you're from there, but I know you lived in
Thank you.
Canada.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get confused and they assume because I speak English that I must have lived in Toronto or something. Like I haven't lived in Canada since 2021. And people still to this day will be like, so are your prices in Canadian dollars? And I'm like, what? And they're like, aren't you from Toronto? I'm like, girl, I've never been there. Never one
Because you
time.
speak English, you were in Toronto? Like, the whole
I have no
country is
idea.
English.
And then people tell me I'm giving Toronto. I'm like, am I? I should I be happy about that? Like, I don't really know. I was like, I thought I was giving Boston. Low key offended, but whatever. No, I lived in Quebec. She's like, this is ridiculous. How could you be from Toronto?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, like, people are just so weird about Canada, and I don't get
Yeah.
it because, like, it's a whole ass country, but apparently there's only 2 provinces.
Yeah, real. I will say on this recorded line, I will confess, I was one of those. Because when you're American, they don't teach you about
I
Canada.
know.
You learn lumberjack, you learn maple syrup. Like you do not learn anything. When I lived in Quebec for 2 years. I don't even know that I could name all the provinces in Canada. I'm really sorry about that. But I remember one time we were driving to Tremblant. Okay, there are places in the United States that are more northern than Mont Tremblant. Okay, I remember saying to my husband at the time, I was like, I feel like we're driving off the earth. I feel like we're going to the North Pole. We're going so north right now. He was like, girl, there are miles and miles and miles and hundreds of miles to go. He's like, have you heard of Saskatchewan? I'm like, yes, but no, also no.
You know, my French husband all the time is, like, so proud to say Saskatchewan, but he never says it right.
Dad, how do you say it?
I don't know. He's always like Saskatchewan, the
The Quebec
Saskatchewan,
accent
you
is
know. And
so
I'm like,
real.
yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one queen. Up there.
But I don't know. Canada, a whole nother bag of onions. I have opinions on it, obviously.
Yeah. I
But
mean, same.
I haven't lived there since 2020. Yeah, 2020. So I'm like, I don't even know what's happening there anymore.
Girl, me neither.
Um, but the last question I have written is for people who are considering, thinking about, on the fence about starting a Substack. What do you have to say to them?
Don't. Don't
That's
do
it.
it. Don't, period. She's like, okay, so you want to give a 5-minute monologue about every other question, and this one you're going to say, don't, hand, heart, sign off, hang up. No,
Can I
I
have a little
think
more?
yeah, she's like, would you like to expand? Yeah, I would. I really deeply would. I don't think that everyone needs Substack. If you want Substack as a creative outlet because you are a writer at your core, or you have things to share, you're a curator, whatever, you want a place that's nicer than all the other social media platforms, like humanly nicer, then cool. Love. I would love to have you on there. Like, I'm going to read your content if your content is the cutesy. Okay. But if you're just a girl in business and you're like, I must be on Substack, like, shut up. No, I don't think you need to be on Substack. I think you need to blog. I've shared this already, but I'm going to share it again. I think you should be writing content that actually is going to get you traction and get you found and get you paid. Like, I understand why people are like, let me go on Substack because there's people on there. That's like making an Instagram account and expecting to get followers because there are people on there. Like, you don't just inherently get found. Guess what? People search things on Google. You get found on there for sure. Like, there are way more people searching on Google than there are searching on Substack. So I understand the perspective of like visibility being a factor of why people want to join a platform, but like, girl, the internet has visibility. Like, people are going to see you. And I think that people think that when they blog, they're like, okay, but I'm blogging to nobody. Nobody's reading this. Well, okay, maybe do some keyword research then. Maybe Google the thing and see what people are talking about. Like, if I can give you a blogging tip real quick, let's say you want your blog to rank number 1. Okay. Go Google the thing. So Google, let's say, compete with me for number 1 on this blog. Okay. Write a blog post called Show It versus Squarespace. Compare Show It and compare Squarespace in a blog. I currently rank number 1 for that. If I want to secure my spot, which I do actually think I need to update this blog, I feel like it might still say 2024 and it's fully going to be April 2025. Go in the people also ask section and put those things in there. If it's like, is Show It better than Squarespace? Guess what I'm going to put in my blog? A subheading that says, is Show It better than Squarespace? And I'm going to answer that question because that's literally Google telling me this is what the people are asking. It says people also ask. They didn't make that up. Like, that is what people are asking. That's what people want to know. So if you're like, oh, Substack visibility, no. Google visibility, okay? You get more visibility by blogging, I think, than you do on Substack. Now, can you go viral on Substack? Sure you can. A lot of people can like your content. That would be great. You could go viral on any platform though, but I don't think that it's necessarily virality that you're searching for, like as many eyes as possible. Think about your actual goals. And I bet if you think about your actual goals, it's make money, more subscribers, so they will hire me or so they will buy my course or whatever. That's not what you're finding on Substack. The girls on Substack just want to read a Substack and then log off and then go on Pinterest and then go back to Substack and maybe like Bumble. I don't fucking know. But they don't want to buy something. They want to read Substack.
I like that answer
Thank you.
much better than your first answer of don't.
I thought you were going to say you like my answer of don't because now you don't feel pressured to make a Substack.
Oh no, I don't feel pressured to make a Substack at all.
No, I knew that already, girl.
I love writing, but I am blogging and I don't have space for more. I don't have space for more.
Yeah, see, most people are trying to pretend like they have space for more. That's really what the combo should be, I think, is do you have space for that? Because a lot of people see, oh, well, they're on Substack. Should I make a Substack? No, unless you
It's
want
really like
to.
shiny object marketing
Yeah,
platform right now. And it's like, well, it's not
but it's not
actually
for
a
that.
marketing platform at its
Yeah.
base. So I don't
Substack
know
is
why it's
saying,
in the equation.
are you even on the map, girl? Like, they don't
Yeah.
even know.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
She's like, you actually want to host this podcast? No, I think that definitely covers it. I mean, if you're curious to learn more about blogging or email marketing and how it intersects with Substack, like I said, I have a whole podcast episode about it because I started a podcast to talk about it. Like that was the purpose of the Point of the Story podcast. So if you're curious about that, feel free to ask me. I probably will just send you the link to the episode unless you have a specific question. But I do feel like I get the question a lot of like, this is my Substack idea. Should I start it? And then the question is, should I start a paid Substack? And then I'm extra capital D don't period because you'll get discouraged, girl. Like, people aren't paying for that. The reason why people pay me on Substack is because they want to see how much money I make. And I'm literally saying, I will not tell you unless you give me $10. And they're that nosy that they're down to pay. Like, that's the only reason. Other people's Substack, who I'm over here, definitely a Substack reader. I'm like, go to read an article and it's paid. I'm like, like there's nothing you could do to make me want to pay for something unless it was something like that, where it's like, I'm going to tell you the story of why me and this other influencer got in a brawl in 2010. Then I'm like, take my card, sign me up. I want to know the tea about that. But like most of the ideas that people have about their paid Substack is like, okay, make a blog, make a TikTok. Like, I don't know, like, it doesn't need to be paid. Like, I don't need to give you money for that. I'll give you my eyeballs. Like, I'll read it. I'll engage, but I don't need to give you $10. So that's that on that.
All right. So after all of that, where can the people find you and what are you up to?
You can find me on Substack. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you can. You actually can find me definitely on Substack. You can find me at BTL Copy, not to be confused with the BLT, the sandwich. I'm a person, not a food. So BTL, I almost just said it wrong. BTL Copy everywhere. Instagram, Threads. I'm like a once a month on Instagram, but a once a minute on Threads if you're wanting the yapping. And betweenthelinescopy.com/blog if you're curious.
I love that because I am also on Threads. Though I will say I have been on Threads less recently. I feel like I'm like falling out of social
A lot of
media
people are saying
entirely.
that, I feel. People are saying they're not yapping as much on Threads lately, I'm hearing.
Which is sad because it was like, it was it, you know,
It
for a
was
minute.
yeah. But I think some people are mean on Threads. And some people are getting discouraged about some meanies on Threads. So I don't know. I'm a big muter. So maybe I've just accidentally muted everyone who happens to be mean. But like, nobody's mean to me on Threads. The one time somebody was mean to me on Threads was I posted saying I was trying reformer Pilates. And they were like, that's not Pilates. And I was like, ask me if I give a fuck. Like, I'll be on the reformer. I don't care what it is. Like, I'm trying to find some core muscles, not like genuine Pilates, capital P. So that was the only time anyone's ever been mean to me on Threads. But if you follow me on Threads, I'll be nice to you. BTL Copy.
I feel like there's a lot of cheerleaders on Threads, but then I feel like there's a lot of like ignorant, stupid shit that happens on the platform.
100%.
But that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing all of that great information about Substack. And everything will be linked in the show notes that was mentioned. Maybe. I feel like there's a lot of things mentioned. So maybe not all of them.
I'm so sorry.
You can just go to Instagram and DM and ask for.
Literally, I was going to say, if you want, make it easy for her. Just DM me on Instagram and say, what was that thing you were talking about? You mentioned somebody, Fishboy. What was his Instagram? At Cape Cod Fly. That's what it was. No, you can. I'm actually scared because I don't know what's on his Instagram. I have a screenshot in a Canva presentation from 2022, and I don't know what's on there anymore. So I really don't know what you guys are going to find. And I'm not going to stalk him because I don't give a shit. But yeah.
Can you imagine if you made him go viral?
That would be wicked funny. Like I said, I do think he has a new girlfriend, so hopefully she doesn't mind that I'm like putting him on blast like that. I hope they're happy together. He was also unnaturally obsessed with his ex-wife, like still. So I hope that's no longer an issue for them.
All right, I think we're going to leave it there.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. If this is your first interaction with me.